Today I wanted to make a video about something most people don't talk about when it comes to purpose buy. Okay, listen. When it comes to purpose, there will be a lot of things that get in your way and taint your purpose and taint the intention of your purpose. So for example, if my purpose is to be on YouTube and to talk about self-improvement and to like possibly, attribute to the common good and provide value to the people around me, I do that with that intention as well. I do it with the intention to have a positive impact for the circle around me and to provide value to the ones close to me so that I could also get that back into my life, and it just circles positive energy and it tilts the world in a positive direction. But I could have that same purpose but with the intention of like being on YouTube and all that, but doing it with the intention of doing it for views. Okay. And so the thing about it is, right, people think that the people who think like that are very, very corrupt. Like if I'm making YouTube videos for like views, especially if I'm self-improvement, I'm very corrupt. But the thing is, I think it's only really corrupted if you act upon it, okay? Because most people think they're really, really bad for even having the thought of that, okay? And you could push that to its extremes as well, right? There'll be like criminal cases and things like that. And you could probably think of what I'm thinking about, right? But criminal cases where that's probably a very, very bad thing and that is unhealthy. But when it comes to some cases, like for example, like either it's pursuing your purpose with like the wrong kinds of intentions, or it's doing something with the wrong kind of intention that I think will kind of lead you astray. Okay? And here's what I mean by that, right? If my purpose is to try to provide value and help the people like by giving my wisdom of self-improvement online, I could do that with the intention of actually doing that, which would be independent of all the views and all the subs that I get, right? And it kind of helps me reach my goal as well, because if that's what I'm doing it for, I'm doing it regardless of the fact that I have 400 subscribers, 1,000, 1 million, doesn't matter how many I have. I'm doing that, right? So in my eyes, I've kind of just become that thing, and it doesn't matter how many people watch it or doesn't. I just know that even if there's like 400 people that maybe watch my video or something like that, and then, or maybe even 20, that maybe there's at least one person that get an impact from that. But if I do it for the sake of views, if I have that purpose, but with the intention of trying to accumulate as many views, it's not about the fact that you might be able to see through that, or you could see if I'm trying to do that. It's more about the fact that I feel as if it's kind of disingenuous and it kind of leads you astray, and it will change your content in a micro way, in the most micro way possible, into doing that thing for views. It'll affect your content in a very micro way. Like think about it like this. Think about a timeline where you have the same purpose, right? But you do it with two different intentions. One intention is the one I talked about, to actually provide value to the people. Let's simplify it to that. And then the other intention is like to do it for views. Now, this doesn't just apply to YouTube, by the way. This also applies to anything you could possibly do. Anything you're pursuing as a purpose, anything you're trying to do as a career. There's different intentions. Like you could become a doctor with the intention to save lives, or a doctor with the intention to just make as much money. I'm not saying what's morally correct, what isn't. I'm just saying in terms of the way you think, some intentions are going to corrupt you more than others, okay? And some intentions will lead you to pursuing your purpose in a manner that leads that astray. So again, let me get back to what I was saying. Think of two different timelines, right? In one timeline, I'm going to provide value with the intention of providing value, but then in one timeline, I'm providing value with the intention of getting views. And that also affects my goals. You know how? It's because if I do that with the intention of getting views, then if my views decline by any metric, then I'm just like, oh, I'm not making progress, so I need to change something to get more views. And so you might start going to more trendy topics or trying to, and that's how that changes. You see what I mean? But if I'm doing it for the sake of providing value, it, regardless of the views I get, I'll make the kind of content that I think will provide the most value, right? So I might possibly not lean towards all the trendy stuff or change my niche or do any of that. It just depends, right? So it depends on what it is that I value. But some things will corrupt that vision. And for me, one of those in like the grand scheme of things and trying to improve myself as like a being, not just like YouTube, right? One of those was like lust, things like that. Or one of them could be greed, like the need to always want money. Like, I'm not saying I don't want to one day or still want to be able to do that, because like to live in the world, and I think to be able to provide the kind of impact that I want, I need to have like certain conveniences and things like that, and that requires money, right? But it's hard to define just yet specifically, and this could take all day, what it is that I just like need on the surface level and what I could have if I had that kind of money, right? Like, what would be more of a want, what would be more of a need? So I'm just trying to stick to the needs if I have that kind of money, but like you still, I think, need money to an extent to be able to do the kind of work that I want to be able to do. So it's kind of hard to draw that line, but again, right, some things will always come to corrupt your purpose. Like, for example, how I see it is, I have this straight line drawn from point A, which is where I am right now, to point B, which is where I feel as if I'm achieving the height of my purpose. And in the way, we'll get like other self-improvement YouTubers that have a certain level of like influence over the communities and talking about how, like, you know, they're high value men when they have a cig in their mouth. And then I think it's cool too, so I'm doing it now, and I'm like, what the hell am I actually doing with myself? Or other self-improvement YouTubers talking about how, you know, these things that you do, like playing video games and all that, is like so garbage, but like when they're out there smoking and drinking with all these women and doing that, it's not a bad thing, and it's like somehow that's a good thing. It's like, I think that's a matter of perception. So little things like that, little ideas like that get implanted within your mind can kind of corrupt your vision from your perspective. Maybe my ideas would corrupt the purpose and like the intention of the purpose of other self-improvement YouTubers or things like that. So it's very hard to kind of not allow those to lead you astray. It's very hard. You have to start weeding those out, because what happens is, like, think of you going from A to B, right, in a straight line, which is A is where you are, and then B is like achieving like the height of your purpose, right? And you'll just kind of like detour. You're just going to the right, and you're like, wait. And you don't realize it in the moment, right? But then you realize you're detouring, and then you try to get back on track again, and then you detour again, and then you detour again, and then you detour again. And so that's what I'm trying to avoid. It's like my detour that happened within my YouTube channel just now, and I'm catching these very, very quickly because I'm getting better at it, is like I was starting to lean into doing things for views, right? And what might get the most views. But then I kind of backtracked to myself, and I was like, well, wait, why is it that I'm doing this? And then I kind of went back, because if I go to the views, if I let the views affect me, then that means, from my frameworks that I've set up in my mind, that also kind of affects my productivity or the way that I do things or the video topics that I talk about and things like that. And I don't want that to happen, because I want to stick to who I am, not necessarily just because that's like what people want to see and things like that. But I also, that doesn't mean I want to completely and utterly dismiss my audience. That means like I want to be able to make the kind of content I want. And if there's things that, would like me to talk about, then you comment them forthrightly, and I'll just be like, okay, sick. I can make that, and I can make it about my perspective and the way I see things. And, maybe you could add perspective to that in the comments, but there'll be things that lead you astray. Like one of them, I don't know if it's a detour or if it's the way to my purpose, but if it's like maybe editing my videos, and maybe I could, but I just like them feeling like a conversation. But then I go to the cognitive dissonance of thinking like, hey, maybe my content could be better, and maybe people could stick with it more. But I feel like something just tells me this is just the right way to go about it. And maybe deep down that could somehow be an excuse about how, I'm not having to work more by editing my videos. But I just think it just feels most authentic, because I always come back to the reasoning. Like I always come back from that detour, and the way I come back from it is like, wait, these are videos that helped me the most. Moist Critical, XQC streams, and all these things that gave me the most entertainment, the most like maybe joy, or the most help. It was all because there were unfiltered, unedited videos and things like that made me feel as if I was actually like relating to someone and there with them. So I wanted to recreate that, and that's my way of doing this. So that's why I continue to do this. And don't get me wrong, I know it could make it better, and maybe somewhere in the future I might think that might be the change I need to make, because I like to keep my mind flexible and adaptable, like I talked about with Yoichi Isagi, right, from Blue Lock. But I just, in the moment, that's what I think my purpose, like that's what I think the intention behind my purpose is, and it, like and going in a straight line up and not taking that detour. I think editing my videos in the moment is a detour. I also think making videos for the sake of views is also a detour right now. Not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing, because some people make entertainment videos that are like made to do that, and made to like, if they put in this much work, then they expect to get it back. It's almost like a business, so you can't really be mad at them. But like, that's just not the way I want to be able to view it. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to demonize the other side, but at the same time, that's just not what I want to do. I don't want to, make videos for the sake of views, because I feel like that just corrupts my mindset and leads me astray off my purpose. But hopefully that made a little bit of sense. Maybe there's something that you're doing in your life that's leading you astray, because you've incorporated something that you think is important, but isn't actually important to the intention of your purpose. So, you might think that, oh, saving lives as a doctor was once important, but now it's more like money. Ask yourself if that's something that's actually corrupting you, because it could corrupt you in a way that like your future self would be saying, like, if he was in that position, is he still going to be able to do it for all that money, or is it not going to be worth it to him? Because then it's just like you're not delivering the best service if you can't do it for your patients. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not saying you're delusional for wanting that money. Like, we all want to be able to live our the kind of like lifestyles maybe that we want. And, if we've worked for it, then we've earned it. But like, I just want you to be honest with yourself, so that you could keep doing that, and you could keep providing the most value, and you could sustain it for a long period of time, in order to keep providing that value to your society, so you could, add on to the greater good. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you. Peace. Take it easy. Hope that helps.